What if I told you that the person you're missing right now, that person you think you've lost forever, is actually standing right next to you as you watch this video? I know how that sounds. I know the thinking part of your brain is already saying this is just hoping or make-believe. But what if I could prove to you using the written records of Edgar Cayce, the most talented psychic who ever lived, that death is nothing more than walking from one room into another? And what if I could show you the 7 clear signs that the people who died are not only still with you, but are really trying to get your attention right now? The journey begins. Let me start with something that happened to me 3 years ago. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about death, sadness, and the invisible world that's around us every single day. My grandmother had died 6 months earlier. The sadness was very strong. You know that feeling, don't you? That empty pain in your chest that makes you feel like part of your soul has been ripped away. The way the world suddenly feels less bright, less alive, less connected. I was looking through her things when I found a box of letters I'd never seen before. Letters she'd written to her own mother after her mother had died. And in one of them, dated 1952, she wrote something that made me freeze. I know you think I'm crazy, but Mama comes to visit me. Not in dreams. In real life. She moves things in the kitchen. She turns on the radio to our favorite song. Yesterday, I smelled her perfume so strong that I turned around expecting to see her standing there. That letter sent me on a search that changed my life because I discovered that my grandmother wasn't crazy. She wasn't imagining things. She was experiencing exactly what Edgar Cayce had been writing down for decades. The real, touchable, measurable ways that those we've lost continue to interact with our world. For over 40 years, Cayce did readings for thousands of people who had lost loved ones. And in reading after reading, he showed something that most of us have never been taught. Death doesn't end a relationship, it changes it, the first discovery. But before I share those 7 signs with you, signs that might explain things that have been happening in your own life, I need to tell you what Edgar Cayce discovered about how consciousness itself works. In 1931, a woman came to Cayce heartbroken by the sudden death of her husband. She wanted to know if he was okay, if he was at peace, if he even still existed. When Cayce entered his trance state, what came through wasn't just comfort, it was discovery. He explained that consciousness, the very center of who we are, cannot be destroyed, can only change form. Like water becoming steam, the soul simply moves from one state of being to another. And here's the part that gave me chills. Cayce said that immediately after death, souls often stay close to the physical world, especially to the people they love most. Not because they're stuck, not because they can't move on, but because love itself is a form of energy that goes beyond physical death. And that energy continues to look for ways to show itself, continues to look for connection, continues to look for ways to comfort and guide those who stay behind. This isn't just beautiful spiritual poetry. According to Cayce, this is how the universe actually works. And if you know what to look for, if you understand the language that departed souls use to communicate, you'll start recognizing their presence everywhere. The mystery grows deeper. What Edgar Cayce discovered about consciousness after death. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Cayce discovered that departed souls communicate with us through what he called the 7 channels of connection. These aren't random events. They're not coincidences. They're careful attempts by your loved ones to reach across the veil and let you know they're still there. But here's the problem. Most of us have been taught to ignore these signs as imagination, as grief-caused hallucinations, as our minds playing tricks on us. We've been taught to believe that if we can't measure it with science instruments, it can't be real. Cayce called this the great tragedy of materialistic thinking. He said that by closing our hearts and minds to the possibility of continued connection, we're not just missing out on comfort, we're missing out on ongoing relationships with the people we love most. Think about it this way. What if your departed loved one has been trying to reach you for months, for years, but you keep explaining away every sign, every synchronicity, every moment when you feel their presence? What if they're standing right beside you, sending you message after message, but you're not receiving them because you don't believe in the transmission? If you've ever had a moment, just a moment, where you felt like someone who had died was somehow still with you, I want you to hit that like button, because what I'm about to share might just change how you see those experiences forever. Sign 1. The Awakening. Let me share the first hidden sign. And I want you to really pay attention, because this might have happened to you recently. According to Edgar Cayce, one of the most common ways departed souls try to communicate is by gently waking us during what he called the thin hours, typically between 2 and 4 a.m. Not the jarring, anxiety-filled awakening that comes from stress or worry. This is different. This is a soft, gentle stirring that brings you to consciousness, feeling aware, alert, like someone just whispered your name. Cayce explained that during these early morning hours, the veil between worlds is at its thinnest. Our rational, analytical minds are quiet, our hearts are open, and our loved ones can reach us more easily. But here's the key detail that Cayce emphasized. When this happens, you don't feel afraid. You don't feel disturbed. You feel comforted. There's often a sense of presence in the room, a feeling that you're not alone, even though you can't see anyone. I remember the first time this happened to me after my grandmother passed. I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m., which I later discovered was the exact time she used to wake up every morning to pray. I felt this incredible sense of peace wash over me, and I swear I could smell her coffee brewing in the kitchen. When I went to check, of course, there was nothing there. But the feeling was undeniable. Later, when I read Cayce's material on this phenomenon, I learned that departed souls often visit us during these quiet hours, because they can reach us without the interference of our busy, doubting minds. They're not trying to scare us. They're trying to comfort us, to let us know they're okay, to remind us that love doesn't end with death. Sign 2. The Messenger. The second sign that Edgar Cayce wrote about extensively involves animals, particularly birds, butterflies, and even family pets, acting in unusual ways that seem to carry messages from the other side. Cayce explained that departed souls can influence the behavior of animals much more easily than they can move physical objects. Animals are naturally more sensitive to spiritual energy, more open to the invisible dimensions that surround us. In reading after reading, Cayce described how a cardinal would appear at someone's window every morning after their mother passed away. How a butterfly would land on someone's shoulder on the anniversary of a loved one's death. How a cat that had never been affectionate would suddenly start seeking comfort from someone who was grieving. But the key, according to Cayce, is the timing and the feeling these encounters create. These aren't random animal sightings. They happen at moments when you're thinking about your departed loved one, when you're struggling with grief, when you need a sign most desperately. Let me tell you about Sarah, whose story Cayce documented in 1936. Her young son had died in an accident, and she was drowning in guilt and sorrow. 3 days after the funeral, a robin began appearing outside her kitchen window every morning. Not just any robin. This bird would tap on the glass until she noticed it, then sit there and seem to look directly at her for several minutes before flying away. When she came to Cayce for a reading, he told her that her son was using this robin to deliver a daily message. "I'm okay, Mom, I'm still here. Please don't blame yourself." The tapping, Cayce explained, was her son's way of saying, "Pay attention. This is me." 3 months later, Sarah wrote to Cayce to tell him that the robin had appeared every single day, until the morning she finally felt peace about her son's passing. That day, the robin came to the window one last time, seemed to nod at her, and flew away. It never returned. Now I want you to think about your own experience for a moment. Since your loved one passed away, have you noticed any unusual animal behavior? Birds that seem to appear at significant moments? Butterflies that land on you when you're thinking about them? Family pets acting differently? Drop a comment below and share your story. Because here's what I've discovered. When we start sharing these experiences, when we stop being afraid that people will think we're crazy, something beautiful happens. We realize we're not alone in this. We realize that these signs are real, They're common, and they're happening to people all over the world. Heart the comments that resonate with you. Support each other in this recognition, because when we validate each other's experiences, we make it easier for our departed loved ones to reach us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're building a community of people who understand that death is not the end of love, and your presence here matters. Sign 3. The familiar. The third sign that Edgar Cayce documented is one that almost everyone who has lost someone can relate to: the sudden, unmistakable scent of your loved one appearing out of nowhere. Cayce explained that smell is one of the most direct pathways to spiritual communication, because it bypasses our rational mind and goes straight to our emotional memory. When a departed soul wants to let you know they're present, influencing the air molecules around you to carry their signature scent is one of the most effective methods. This isn't about smelling something similar to what they used to wear. This is about smelling their exact perfume in a room where no one has worn perfume, their pipe tobacco in a house where no one smokes, their favorite flowers in the middle of winter, their cooking in a kitchen where no one has been preparing food. Cayce was very specific about this. These scents appear suddenly, last for just a few moments, and then disappear completely. And they always happen when you need comfort, when you're thinking about them, or on dates that were significant to your relationship. I'll never forget the reading Cayce did for a man whose wife had died of cancer. This man was a skeptic, an engineer who believed only in what could be measured and proven. But 6 weeks after his wife's funeral, he was sitting in his living room when the unmistakable scent of her lavender perfume filled the air. He checked the house from top to bottom. No perfume bottles, no air fresheners, no logical explanation. When he came to Cayce, desperate for answers, Cayce told him something that brought him to tears. Your wife wants you to know that she's not suffering anymore. The lavender is her way of telling you that she's found peace, and she wants you to find peace too. Sign 4. Technology and electrical anomalies. But perhaps one of the most fascinating signs that Cayce documented involves what he called electrical sympathies, the way departed souls can influence electrical devices and technology. Now remember, Cayce was giving these readings in the 1920s and 30s, long before most homes had televisions, computers, or cell phones. But he consistently described how departed souls could manipulate electrical currents, cause radios to turn on to meaningful songs, make lights flicker in patterns, even cause telephones to ring with no one on the other end. Cayce explained that consciousness itself is a form of electrical energy, and when someone passes away, they don't lose the ability to influence electrical fields. They actually become more sensitive to them. A departed soul can focus their energy and cause specific electrical responses that carry meaning. The key, according to Cayce, is recognizing the pattern and the timing. When your departed loved one's favorite song suddenly starts playing on a radio you didn't turn on, when lights flicker in the exact room where you're crying about them, when your phone displays their number as an incoming call, even though that number has been disconnected. These aren't coincidences, they're communications. Sign 5, the synchronicity. The fifth sign is one that Cayce considered the most direct form of communication between our world and the next. Visitation dreams that feel more real than waking life. Cayce made a crucial distinction between regular dreams about departed loved ones and what he called true visitation dreams. Regular dreams, he explained, are products of our subconscious mind processing grief and memory. But visitation dreams are actual meetings that take place in what he called the borderland, a dimension between the physical and spiritual worlds where communication is possible. How can you tell the difference? Cayce outlined specific characteristics of true visitation dreams. First, they feel more vivid, more real than any dream you've ever had. Colors are brighter. Emotions are stronger. Every detail is crystal clear, and you remember everything perfectly when you wake up. Second, your loved one appears healthy, whole, and often younger than when they died. They're not suffering. They're not in pain. They radiate peace and love. Third, they often give you specific information that you couldn't have known. They might tell you where to find something they hid, give you a message for another family member, or reveal something about their passing that brings you comfort. And fourth, this is crucial. You wake up feeling comforted, not disturbed. You feel like you've actually spent time with them, like you've had a real conversation, a real reunion. Cayce documented hundreds of these visitation dreams, and the pattern was always the same. Departed souls use the dream state to have extended conversations with their loved ones, because our rational minds can't interfere with the experience. Sign 6. Repetitive numbers and meaningful coincidences. The sixth sign involves what Cayce called numerical communications. The way departed souls can orchestrate meaningful coincidences and repetitive numbers to catch our attention. You might start seeing their birthday numbers everywhere, on clocks, license plates, receipts. You might repeatedly encounter the date they passed away in random places. Or you might notice that certain songs play, certain people call, or certain events happen on dates that were significant to your relationship. Cayce explained that departed souls can influence what he called the web of synchronicity, the invisible connections between seemingly random events. When you keep seeing the same number sequence, when meaningful coincidences pile up in ways that defy statistical probability, your loved one is orchestrating these events to let you know they're aware of what's happening in your life. Sign 7. The ultimate sign. But the seventh and most powerful sign that Edgar Cayce documented is also the most subtle. The unmistakable feeling that your loved one is present with you, even when you can't see or hear them. Cayce called this the communion of hearts. He explained that love creates an energetic bond that death cannot break, and sometimes that bond becomes so strong that you can actually feel your loved one's presence as clearly as if they were physically standing next to you. This isn't imagination. This isn't wishful thinking. According to Cayce, this is your soul recognizing the energy signature of someone who loves you. Someone who is choosing to draw close to you in a moment when you need them most. It might happen when you're making a difficult decision, and suddenly you feel surrounded by love and guidance. It might happen when you're crying and you feel arms around you that you can't see. It might happen when you're celebrating something important, and you feel them celebrating with you. Cayce was very clear about this. When you feel your departed loved one's presence, trust that feeling. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't rationalize it away. They are there. They are with you. They are letting you know that love is stronger than death, and your relationship with them continues in a form that transcends physical existence. The deeper truth, maintaining relationships across the veil. The deeper truth. Now, here's what Edgar Cayce understood that most people miss. These signs aren't just random comfort from the other side. They're part of a bigger picture, a deeper truth about the nature of consciousness and love that changes everything. According to Cayce, when someone we love dies, we don't just lose them. We gain access to a different kind of relationship with them. They're no longer limited by physical bodies, physical time, physical space. They can be with multiple people simultaneously. They can influence events across great distances. They can offer guidance and protection in ways that weren't possible when they were alive. But here's the catch. This ongoing relationship depends on our openness to it. If we shut down, if we refuse to believe it's possible, if we explain away every sign and dismiss every synchronicity, we cut ourselves off from the very connection that could transform our grief into something beautiful. Cayce often said that the departed need us to believe in their continued presence almost as much as we need to feel it. When we acknowledge their signs, when we talk to them, when we include them in our daily lives, we strengthen the bridge between worlds. We make it easier for them to reach us, and we make it easier for ourselves to receive their love and guidance. This doesn't mean you don't grieve. This doesn't mean you don't miss their physical presence. But it does mean that your relationship with them doesn't end. It evolves. It becomes something deeper, something more spiritual, something that can actually grow stronger over time. Personal integration. I want you to think about this for a moment. What if everyone you've ever loved who has passed away is still available to you? What if they're still watching over you, still caring about your happiness, still wanting to be part of your life? What if that feeling you get sometimes, that sense that you're not alone, that someone is looking out for you isn't just wishful thinking? What if it's the most real thing in your life? And what if by opening your heart to these signs, by paying attention to these communications, by trusting in the continuity of love, you could transform your grief from something that diminishes you into something that expands you? This is what Edgar Cayce offered the world. Not just evidence that consciousness survives death, but a roadmap for maintaining loving relationships across the veil. A way to stay connected to the people who matter most, even after they've shed their physical bodies. If you've recognized any of these signs in your own life, if you've been receiving messages from someone you love who has passed away, I want you to do something. I want you to start acknowledging them. Talk to your loved one out loud. Thank them for the signs. Ask them to make their presence known when you need comfort, and share your experiences in the comments. Tell us about the signs you've received. Heart the stories that touch you. Because when we share these experiences, when we validate each other's connections with the other side, we make it easier for everyone to stay open to the love that never dies. The transformative ending, how to strengthen your connection with departed loved ones. Here's what I want you to take with you as we close. Death is not the end of your story with someone you love. It's not even the end of a chapter. It's simply a transition to a different way of being together. Your departed loved ones haven't left you. They've been trying to show you this through a language of signs and synchronicities, through touches of presence and moments of connection that your heart recognizes even when your mind doubts. The question isn't whether they're still with you. The question is, are you willing to let yourself believe it? Are you willing to open your heart to a kind of love that transcends physical death? Are you willing to trust that the bonds you formed in life are strong enough to survive anything, even the transition we call dying? Because right now, as you watch this video, the people you're missing are not gone. They're different. They're in a form you can't see with your physical eyes. But they're here. They're aware of you. They're sending you signs of their continued love and presence. Your grandmother who taught you to bake. Your father who walked you down the aisle. Your child who left too soon. Your spouse who promised to love you forever. Your best friend who knew all your secrets. They're all still keeping their promises to love you. They're all still part of your life. The only thing that's different is the way you connect with them. And now you know how to recognize that connection. You know the 7 signs. You know the language of love that transcends death. So tonight when you go to sleep, tell them you know they're there. Thank them for the signs you might have missed before. Ask them to help you feel their presence more clearly. And trust that love, real love, never ends. It only transforms into something even more beautiful than what you had before. Death is not the opposite of life. It's the next expression of life. And love is eternal. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this video has opened your heart to new possibilities, share it with someone who needs to know that they're not alone in their grief. Subscribe if you want to continue exploring the mysteries of consciousness and connection. And remember, the love you're missing is closer than you think. Until next time, stay open to the signs, stay connected to love, and know that those you've lost are never really lost. They're just loving you from a place you can't see yet.